Time for fun, time for smiles, a special time for you.
Storytime with Barney
Is what we love to do. Stories old and stories new, a fairy tale or two.
Storytime with Barney
Is fun for me and you. We just love to share great tales from here and there. So listen carefully, with your imagination you can see. Now let's go to Storyland and we'll learn something new. Here's a special story just for you. Hi there, everybody. This is your friend Barney, and I have some very special stories just for you. The first story is a fairy tale about some friends with curly tails. The Three Little Pigs. Oh, I hope it's one of your favorites, because it's lots of fun to tell. Now, while I tell the story, you can use your imagination. Ready? Okay then, here we go. Once upon a time, there were three little pigs who lived together with their piggy parents in a nice little piggy house. But as the three little pigs grew, the house started to feel a bit too small for everyone to share. So, one day, the three little pigs kissed their Mama and Papa Piggies goodbye.
Goodbye, Mama and Papa Piggy. Goodbye, Mama and Papa Piggy.
Goodbye, Mama and Papa Piggy.
And they went out into the world to build houses of their very own,
I'm going to build my house out of straw.
said the first little pig.
That will be easy.
Well, I'm going to build my house out of sticks.
Said the second little pig.
That'll be easy, too.
But the third little pig just shook his head and said,
I'm going to build my house out of good, strong bricks. And you should, too.
No, that's too much work.
So, the three little pigs began to work on their houses. Now, the first little pig started with a big pile of straw, the kind that farmers feed to animals, and he just kind of pushed it into the shape of a house.
Okay, that's enough straw in here. And here's a bit more for the living room. Say, I wonder if this stuff tastes any good. Pig food. Now just a little more straw up here on the roof and I'm done.
Gee, that straw house didn't look very strong. Every teeny tiny wind blew little pieces right off of it. But the first little pig was so happy to be done with his work that he went and teased the second little pig.
Nonny, nonny, boo, boo, I got done before you.
Oh, yeah? Well, I'm almost done with my house of sticks. Now, let's see. I think that's enough sticks in the bedroom. And I'll put a few more sticks here in the breakfast nook. And now, I'll make a little stick door. And I'm done.
The stick house didn't look very strong either. Every little breeze made it rattle and shake. But the second little pig was so happy to be done with his work that he joined the first little pig, and they both went to tease their brother, who was still working on the brick house.
Nonny, nonny, boo, boo, we got done before you.
Hey, it takes hard work to build a good, strong brick house. Phew.
And it does. The third little pig was taking heavy red bricks and making them into nice, straight walls.
Whoa, I sure am getting tired of building with these bricks.
Then stop working.
Yeah, come and play.
No, I'd better keep working until I'm finished.
Okay.
Nonny, nonny, boo, boo, we got done before.
And even though those other little pigs kept teasing, the third little pig kept right on doing the best job he could. And late that night, the brick house was all finished. The next morning, the three little pigs were all having breakfast in their new little homes. But a big, mean wolf was also hungry for breakfast.
And there's nothing I like better for breakfast than fat little piggies.
Oh, that old wolf walked right up to the house made of straw, and he said,
Little pig, let me in.
Not by the hair of my chinny chin chin.
Then I'll huff, and I'll puff, and I'll blow your house down.
Then the wolf took a deep breath, and he began to blow. Oh, that straw house just fell all to pieces. And the first little pig started running just as fast as he could. But before the wolf could catch him, he ran into his brother's house made of sticks, and they slammed the door.
Little pigs, let me in.
Not by the hair on our chinny chin chins.
Then I'll huff, and I'll puff, and I'll blow your house down.
And the wolf took a deep breath, and he began to blow. Oh, that stick house just fell all to pieces. And both little pigs started running just as fast as they could. But before the wolf could catch them, they ran into their brother's house made of bricks and slammed the door. Ooh, sounds like they locked it too. Good idea.
Little pigs, let me in.
Not by the hair on our chinny chin chins.
Then I'll huff, and I'll puff, and I'll blow your house down.
And the wolf took a deep breath, and he began to blow. Oh, and when that wolf blew, the leaves swirled and the grass bent down. But the little brick house stayed right where it was. But this only made the wolf madder.
I'll huff, and I'll puff, and I'll blow your house down.
And the wolf took a bigger breath. And he blew even harder. Wow, the bushes shook and birds flew up into the air to get out of that wind. But the little brick house stayed right where it was.
Ooh, that does it. I'm going to huff the biggest huff and puff the biggest puff, and I'm going to blow your house down.
And the wolf took the biggest breath that he could. And he blew harder than he had ever blown before. Whoa, whoa, whoa! The trees bent down in that mighty wind, and the clouds blew right out of the sky. Then the ground began to shiver and shake, and the wolf took off just like a rocket. And he blew himself away and was never seen again. But the little brick house stayed right where it was. And the very next day, they all worked hard and built good, strong houses out of brick. The end. Oh boy, I liked that story, didn't you? And I'm very glad that those little pigs finally had a nice, strong house to stay in. Oh, I'm so glad we could listen together. Now let's jump into another story, because the story is called Jump, Jump, Jump. Oh, I'll bet you've watched the way some of our animal friends like to move and to jump around. Well, that's what this story's about. So now I'll tell the story, and you can use your imagination. Are you ready? Okay then, here we go. Once upon a time, there was a peaceful pond. It stood at the edge of a forest that was thick with the sweet smell of trees and fresh leaves. Bright flowers as colorful as a rainbow grew all around. In the peaceful pond, there lived a frog. He loved to take big jumps from one lily pad to another lily pad. In fact, the further he had to jump, the more he liked it.
My, oh my, what a beautiful day it is. Just a perfect day to jump all through the forest. And no one creature can jump further than I can. I am easily the greatest jumper in the whole world.
The frog jumped from his lily pad to the edge of the pond. He jumped from the edge of the pond to the forest path. He jumped and he jumped right along that path that led through the forest. He jumped from stone to stone, from flower to flower, from here to there. Each jump took him a little further than the last one. He kept on jumping until a tiny grasshopper crossed his path.
Hello, little grasshopper. Isn't it a wonderful day for jumping? Of course, no one can jump the way I can.
Whatever do you mean, Frog? I jump well too, you know.
But not like me, grasshopper. I'm the greatest jumper in the forest. The best jumper in the whole wide world.
No, you're not. That's nonsense. You see, Frog, I am certain I am the best jumper in the forest. The greatest jumper in the whole world. I am sure I am a better jumper than you.
You? Better than I am? Grasshopper? I don't believe what I'm hearing. You see, Grasshopper, no creature can jump further than I can. And that makes me the greatest jumper in the forest. And probably the greatest jumper in the world.
Oh, really? Well, Frog, you may be able to jump further than most creatures, but there is no creature who can jump higher than I can jump. So you see, Frog, that makes little old me the best jumper in the world. So there.
You're wrong, Grasshopper. I'm the greatest.
No, Frog, I am the greatest jumper.
No, I'm the best. I'm the
The
best.
frog and the grasshopper argued for hours about who was the greatest jumper. Some of the other creatures who heard them arguing began to giggle. How silly they thought to waste so much time talking about who was the best jumper. One of the animals, however, found all this jumping talk very interesting. The rabbit.
Excuse me, but I have very long ears and I hear almost everything. Did I hear someone talking about being the greatest jumper in the world?
I was telling Grasshopper that I can jump further than any other animal. Therefore, I am the greatest jumper in the forest. The greatest jumper in the world, for that matter.
And I was telling Frog that I can jump higher than any other creature. So I must be the greatest jumper in the whole wide world.
I say you're both wrong. Everyone knows that rabbits spend the whole day jumping quickly, from place to place. Why, you've never seen any creature jump as quickly as I can jump. I don't mean to brag, but let's face it, no frog or grasshopper can jump as quickly as a rabbit can. So you see, I'm the best jumper in the world. I'm the best. No, I'm the best.
By now, every creature in the forest had heard the frog, the grasshopper, and the rabbit claiming to be the best jumper in the world. All the forest animals stopped whatever they were doing to listen to the frog, the grasshopper, and the rabbit argue. All except one. A small snail, moving ever so slowly from the pond to the forest, heard all the excitement, but didn't seem to care. As he slid along so slowly, a wise old owl flew down from his perch in a high tree. The owl, who had heard just about enough from the frog, the grasshopper, and the rabbit, asked the snail what he thought of all the silliness.
Ooh, Snail, who do you think is the greatest jumper of them all?
The snail yawned and looked up. He saw the frog, the grasshopper, and the rabbit staring at him, waiting for his answer. Slowly, he lowered his head and yawned again.
Does it really matter? For all anyone cares, I might be the greatest jumper in the world. Aren't there more important things to worry about?
Oh, so Snail thinks he's the greatest jumper, does he?
Well, no, Frog. What I meant was...
So you think jumping is easy, do you, Snail?
Well, no, Grasshopper. What I was trying to say was...
I know how we can settle the matter. We'll have a contest right here and now. We'll see who the greatest jumper in the forest really is. Frog, grasshopper, snail, or me, rabbit. Owl, You can be the judge.
But...
A splendid idea. Frog, you jump first.
Okay, here goes. The frog jumped further than he had ever jumped before. In fact, he jumped so far that after a while, all the watching animals lost sight of him. They knew he had jumped much further than the edge of the forest. Some thought he might have even jumped halfway around the world. All they knew was that he had gone much further than they could see.
All right, Grasshopper. It's your turn to jump.
Wow, that's high. Grasshopper jumped so high that I can no longer see her. Where'd she go?
It was true. Grasshopper had jumped higher than she'd ever jumped before. Higher than anyone could see or imagine. Many of the forest creatures thought she might have jumped clear over the moon, over the entire solar system, even over the stars.
Ooh, I wonder if we'll ever see Grasshopper and Frog again. Oh, well, it's up to you, Rabbit. It's your turn to jump now.
You haven't seen anything yet. Watch this.
Where did Rabbit go?
Rabbit had jumped so quickly that none of the creatures watching could follow him. Everyone knew he had jumped well, but just how well they could not be sure, because he had disappeared so quickly.
He's gone. That leaves you, I guess, Snail.
Oh.
Well, Snail, come now. Aren't you going to jump?
I just did.
You did?
Sure. It wasn't much of a jump, I suppose. In fact, I'm sure none of you even saw it. It was so small, but it was enough to win the contest, so I've won the honor of being the greatest jumper in the forest. Now, I'll be on my way.
Who? You? The greatest jumper in the forest? The winner of the contest?
Sure. Nobody knows exactly how far Frog jumped, and nobody knows exactly how high Grasshopper jumped, and nobody knows exactly how quickly Rabbit jumped. None of them is in the forest anymore, but I'm still here. I'm still in the forest, so that makes me the greatest jumper in the forest, right?
He's right.
Now I'll be on my way. There's work to be done. I guess I'd better, jump to it.
The end. Oh, wasn't that a great story? Do you like to jump? Oh, so do I. Oh, I'm so glad that we could jump together. Are you ready for a story from long, long ago? Well, this story is about a man who loved planting apple seeds. It's called Johnny Appleseed. Now, I'll tell the story, and you can use your imagination. Ready? Okay, then, here we go. Once upon a time, when the United States was a brand new country, there was a young boy who just loved apples. He loved everything to do with apples and everything that was made from apples. He loved fresh, juicy apples right off the tree. He loved warm apple pie that his mom made. He loved applesauce, he loved apple dumplings, and he especially loved to drink cold, sweet apple juice. Boy, did Johnny love everything about apples. Do you know who that was? You guessed it. That was Johnny Appleseed taking a big bite out of an apple. I told you he loved apples.
Hot apple pie.
Yum-dee-dum. I wish I had some hot apple pie right now with ice cream. Don't you too? Johnny wasn't always named Johnny Appleseed. When he was a boy, his name was Johnny Chapman.
Johnny Chapman, time for dinner.
Coming, Mom. I'm picking apples.
Picking apples? Wouldn't you know it? Apples, apples, apples. He loved juicy red apples and sweet yellow apples and sour green apples. And no matter what color the apple was, he loved the fresh, fruity smell. Of course, Johnny didn't just like to eat apples. He liked to spend as much time as he could around apples and apple trees. He liked apple trees in the spring when they were in bloom.
Oh, Mom, just look at the apple blossoms. Aren't they beautiful?
And Johnny liked apple trees even better in the fall when the apples were ripe and juicy.
Now that's an apple.
Have you ever known anybody who liked apples so much? No? Me either. When Johnny Chapman grew up, nobody was surprised when he went to work for a farmer, helping him tend his apple orchard. Johnny couldn't imagine a better job because an apple orchard is sort of like a whole big forest of nothing but apple trees. The farmer could hardly believe how hard Johnny worked, or how much he loved apples.
Johnny Chapman, you know more about apples and care more about apples than anybody I've ever met. We ought to start calling you Johnny Appleseed.
Appleseed? Johnny Appleseed. I like that.
The name stuck. From that day on, Johnny Chapman was known as Johnny Appleseed, the fellow who just couldn't get enough apples. What a super-de-duper name. If they named you after your favorite food, what would your name be? Ice cream? Pizza? Chocolate cake? Now, remember, all this happened a long, long time ago. Every day, more and more people were loading everything they had on big wagons pulled by horses and setting out to live in the West. They were called settlers. Johnny thought a lot about those people.
Gosh, where will the settlers get apples? Apple trees don't grow out there, you know. How can anybody live without apples?
The more Johnny thought about life with no apples, the more he decided to do what he could to help the settlers out west. Then, one night, Johnny had a dream. Do you ever dream at night? In the dream, Johnny found himself wandering in the biggest, most wonderful apple orchard he'd ever seen. As he walked among the apple trees, he had an idea.
I can take a sack of all different kinds of apple seeds out to the settlers. If I do my job well, one day everyone will have fresh apples and apple pie and apple dumplings and apple cider.
When Johnny Appleseed awoke from his dream, it was a super-de-duper morning. The sun was shining, birds were chirping, children were playing. Then and there, Johnny Appleseed knew what he wanted to do for the rest of his life. Plant apple trees. Uh-oh. Do you hear that? Johnny hadn't walked very far before it started to rain. That was when Johnny realized he'd forgotten to wear his hat. You know what happens when you forget to wear your hat in the rain. That's right. Johnny's head was getting soaked. You probably like playing in the rain, don't you? Well, I sure do. But Johnny didn't want to catch cold, so he began to look for something to cover his head. Just then, Johnny spotted an old tin pot lying near the path. Johnny put the pot on his head.
Ah, this'll do fine for a hat. And when I'm not wearing it as a hat, I'll use it as a pot to cook apples.
A hat you can cook in? Have you ever seen such a thing? And so, wearing an old tin pot on his head, Johnny was on his way. He walked and walked, roaming the countryside, planting apple seeds everywhere he went. Did he get tired? Did his feet hurt? Yes, sirree. But Johnny didn't mind. He wasn't going to rest until the whole world had apples. Before long, Johnny began to meet the settlers and farmers who were moving their families out west.
Howdy.
Howdy. My name is Johnny Appleseed. Would you like me to plant some apple trees next to your field?
Apples? Oh, please do. I can't remember the last apple I ate. Plant all the apple trees you want.
During his travels, Johnny made friends with all kinds of wild animals. Grizzly bears, mountain lions, even the wildest animals didn't bother Johnny. Johnny even made a special friend among the animals. You see, one day, as he was walking through the forest, Johnny thought he heard something that worried him. It sounded like a wounded animal. Soon, he discovered an old gray wolf with his leg caught in a trap set by a hunter. Johnny couldn't bear to see a wild animal suffer. He quickly freed the wolf and bandaged his leg, but the wolf didn't move. He wanted to stay with Johnny because Johnny had helped him. It seemed that Johnny had a new friend for life. As they walked along, that old gray wolf was right beside Johnny. The farther west the settlers moved, the farther west Johnny Appleseed walked, always welcoming the new settlers and always planting apple seeds. Johnny hadn't realized just how long he'd been planting apple trees until something unusual happened one day. Johnny had come to a small pond in the forest. As he bent over to get a drink of water, for the first time he could remember, he noticed his reflection. The water was just like a mirror. There he saw an old man with a long white beard and a battered old tin pot on his head. Johnny stood up and looked all around him, in every direction. As far as he and that old gray wolf could see, the countryside was dotted with big, strong apple trees full of bright, juicy apples. Johnny Appleseed had done his job well. Now, everywhere he went, people had apple trees and apples. The end. Do you like to eat apples? Johnny Appleseed did, and he loved planting apple seeds and sharing his apples with the settlers. Why, today we might be eating apples from the apple trees planted by Johnny Appleseed. Oh, time for fun, time for smiles, a special time for you.
Storytime with Barney
is fun for me and you. The story is called Chicken Little. It's about Chicken Little and how she gets mixed up and makes mistakes. Oh, I can't wait to tell you what happened. Now, while I tell the story, you can use your imagination. Are you ready? Okay then, here we go. Once upon a time, one sunny day, not too long ago, there was a little chicken as fluffy as a cotton ball, scratching and scratching and scratching under the apple tree.
Hi, my name is Chicken Little. I may be little, but I am strong.
Oh my, she pulled out a worm as fat as your little finger.
I can find food by myself. I can eat it by myself. I may be little, but I am big.
It's fun to do things all by yourself, isn't it? That's just what Chicken Little was finding out. All of a sudden, a little apple came falling out of the tree and landed right on Chicken Little's head. Chicken Little had never seen an apple before. When it stopped rolling, she looked at the little apple and squealed.
Ouch! What is that? Oh my gosh! It must be the sky. The sky is falling. What shall I do?
Now we know it wasn't the sky that was falling. It was just a little apple. But Chicken Little ran. She ran as fast as her tiny feet could run. Down the hill, over the bridge, and through the barnyard.
The sky is falling. The sky is falling.
Oh, she bumped into Henny Penny.
Chicken Little, you are running too fast. Be careful. You could get hurt.
Oh, Henny Penny, I am sorry, but something big has happened. The sky is falling.
How do you know the sky is falling?
I saw it with my eyes. I heard it with my ears, and a piece of it fell on my poor little head.
Then Chicken Little tipped her little head for Henny Penny to see.
Oh, you poor dear. Why, that bump on your head is as big as an egg. The sky is falling. We must go and tell the king.
Chicken Little and Henny Penny ran and ran. And who did they see sitting on the fence? Rooster Booster.
Stop right there, you two.
What do you think Chicken Little and Henny Penny told Rooster Booster? Yes, sirree. They said, "The sky is falling, the sky is falling. We must run and tell the king."
How do you know the sky is falling?
Chicken Little jumped up and down, chirping.
I saw it with my eyes. I heard it with my ears, and a piece of it fell on my poor little head.
The sky is falling. Rooster Booster never did believe Chicken Little. Then Chicken Little showed Rooster Booster her little head with the bump on it. And Rooster Booster said, "Yes, the sky is falling, and we must go and tell the king." Off they raced, Chicken Little, Henny Penny, and Rooster Booster. They ran past Ducky Lucky swimming on the pond. Ducky Lucky called to them,
Please, wait, everyone. Look at the round white rock I found on the bottom. It's shinier than your feathers, Rooster Booster.
Rooster Booster said no, they couldn't stop because the sky is falling and they must go and tell the king. What do you think Ducky Lucky said?
How do you know the sky is falling?
Everyone shouted, Chicken Little saw it fall. Well, Ducky Lucky wasn't sure about the news.
Chicken Little, is this like the time you told everyone that Mrs. Cow was going to jump over the moon? She was very upset with you.
Oh, no. This time is different, Ducky Lucky. The sky is falling. I saw it with my eyes, I heard it with my ears, and a piece of it fell on my poor little head.
Chicken Little held out her little head for Ducky Lucky to see.
That bump is as big as a rock. Yes, maybe the sky is falling. We must run and tell the king.
Chicken Little, Henny Penny, Rooster Booster, and Ducky Lucky ran and ran.
Hello, friends. Where are you rushing to? Please stop and visit. I'll tell you all a story.
But the animals cried, "Oh, no time for stories today, Turkey Lurkey. Something awful has happened. The sky is falling. Oh." Then Turkey Lurkey puffed up his feathers and grew as big as a rose bush, and said,
Oh, where? I'll fix it. You can help me, Rooster Booster.
The sky is falling. This is a big problem, Turkey Lurkey. We must tell the king.
"How do you know the sky is falling?" asked Turkey Lurkey. What do you think they told him? Chicken Little saw it.
I don't believe it. Chicken Little is always getting things mixed up and telling stories.
Turkey Lurkey, this is for real. The sky is falling. I saw it with my eyes, I heard it with my ears, and a piece of it fell on my poor little head.
Chicken Little poked her little head right under Turkey Lurkey's beak. Turkey Lurkey said the bump was as big as a potato.
The sky is falling. We must go and tell the king.
And now, Chicken Little, Henny Penny, Rooster Booster, Ducky Lucky, and Turkey Lurkey ran up the hill, under the tree, where Mr. Owl was sleeping. He woke up and called,
Who is making so much noise? Don't you know some of us sleep during the day? Henny Penny, is that you?
Yes, Mr. Owl. We are so sorry. We didn't mean to wake you up.
Oh my, all the animals began to talk at once.
Something important has happened.
To the sky, just awful.
Falling like that.
On my poor little head.
Oh, it took a long time before Mr. Owl could understand what happened. "How do you know the sky is falling?" he asked. Everyone stopped and looked at Chicken Little. She stepped forward and said,
The sky is falling. I saw it with my eyes, I heard it with my ears, and...
Chicken Little, aren't you the one who runs here and there scaring the animals with stories that aren't quite true?
Yes, I, do say some silly things, but this time is different.
Mr. Owl asked, "Then how do you know the sky is falling?" Chicken Little pointed to her little head and squeaked.
A piece of it fell on my poor little head. See, right there.
I see. Chicken Little, could you please show me where the sky is falling?
Chicken Little ran, and all the animals followed. Mr. Owl flew above. At the apple tree, she stopped and pointed at the little apple with her little wing.
That is the piece of sky that fell on my poor little head.
The animals looked at the little apple, and they all understood what had happened. Then, without saying a word, one by one, they all walked away. Only Mr. Owl stayed.
That, my dear Chicken Little, is only an apple, not a piece of the sky. And if you're a smart little chicken, you will eat it before the others come back. And eat it first.
That's just what Chicken Little did. She pecked and pecked until the apple was all gone.
I have a lot of things to learn.
The end. Oh, wasn't that a silly story? Chicken Little kept her friends so busy looking at the bump on her head and running, they didn't even ask to see what fell on her little head. Now here's a story called The Cricket and the Mouse. Have you ever heard a kitty go meow? Or heard a dog bark? Well, this story is all about the sounds that crickets make. Now, while I tell the story, you can use your imagination. Are you ready? Okay then, here we go. Once upon a time, the circus came to a small town where a young mouse lived. The mouse loved the circus because he loved seeing all the different animals. The elephants with their long trunks, the tigers with their bright stripes, and the little monkeys with their long curly tails. But this mouse also loved to sleep. He didn't seem to mind listening to the lions' roars, the horses' neighs, or the clowns honking their horns. But there was one tiny noise that did keep the poor little mouse from falling asleep. Have you ever had that happen?
Chirp, chirp, chirp. That's all I've heard since the circus rolled into town. How's a poor mouse supposed to get any sleep around here?
The mouse decided he would ask the cricket to be a little quieter.
Hey, Cricket, can you hold down the chirping? It's nighttime and I need to sleep. All that chirping is keeping me awake.
I'm sorry my chirping is bothering you. I don't mean any harm. But you see, chirping at night is what we crickets do best. In fact, after a long day working with the magicians in the circus, nighttime is the only time I have to chirp. I'm really sorry, but I just can't help myself.
Well, try to be quieter, please. If you don't, there's going to be trouble.
And having said that, the mouse walked away to his little bed and crawled in. But the moment he closed his eyes, the cricket's chirping got louder and louder.
That's it. I've had enough. I can't imagine a sound I hate more than that chirping noise. How could anybody stand it? I think it's time to visit that cricket again.
Now that mouse was really mad. He stormed right up to the cricket. But the cricket was as friendly as ever.
What are you doing here, Mouse? I thought you were going home to bed.
Who could sleep with all this noise? Can't you please be quieter?
But I am being quiet. Well, as quiet as a cricket can be. I can't help it that I chirp. That's what crickets are supposed to do.
But I hate that chirping noise. To me, it's the most annoying noise anyone could imagine. You better stop it right now or you'll really be sorry.
But...
I'm warning you, please stop chirping. You'll really be sorry if you don't.
But I can't stop chirping. Besides, the magicians from the circus like to hear me chirp.
Well, I don't. I can't stand to listen to another chirp.
And with that, the mouse grabbed the poor little cricket and swallowed it. The mouse smiled and walked back to his bed, but he still couldn't sleep right away. He didn't feel very good about eating the poor cricket, and he wondered what the cricket had been doing with the circus magicians. Well, I'll tell you, boys and girls, this was no ordinary cricket. It was a magic cricket. As the mouse learned the next morning when he jumped out of bed.
What a beautiful morning. Maybe I'll go watch the circus today, but first I should... What was that? It sounded like it was coming from... It sounded like it came from... me. But that can't be. Mice don't chirp like... Why, crickets?
Every time the little mouse opened his mouth, he chirped. He didn't know why he chirped, but he knew he couldn't stop. And the more he chirped, the more he realized that he had not eaten just any cricket. He had eaten a magic cricket. The mouse had lost his own voice. Whenever he opened his mouth, the only sound to be heard was the cricket's voice. But now he had another problem. The neighborhood cat had always been the mouse's friend until now.
What on earth is that chirping noise? It's driving me crazy. Is that you, Mouse?
The mouse tried to answer, but all he could do was chirp.
Hey, Mouse. I've been up all night and I need to get some sleep. Would you please stop making that terrible chirping noise? If you don't, you'll be sorry. I tried to be friendly about this, but...
The cat swallowed the mouse. Oh, boy. The cat was sorry to have eaten the mouse, but the cat just couldn't stand to hear the chirping noise anymore. But you know what happened when the cat opened her mouth again? And that one little chirp woke up the dog that guarded the elephant's tent.
Hey, cat! Is that you making that silly chirping noise? I hate that noise. I don't mind it coming from a cricket, but I don't want to hear it coming from a cat.
The dog's complaining woke up one of the elephants.
Excuse me, dog, but what are you going to do? You aren't going to eat that cat, are you?
I might.
Oh, fighting never settled anything. You can't be angry just because of the way someone sounds.
The dog knew the elephant was right, and so did the cat. The cat started to nod his head in agreement when an amazing thing happened. The mouse jumped out of the cat's mouth.
My voice is back. I sound like a cat again. Oh, I'll never complain about someone's voice again.
The mouse nodded his head in agreement when another amazing thing happened. The cricket jumped out of the mouse's mouth.
I've got my own voice back. Oh, cricket, I'll never complain or make fun of your voice again.
Thank you, Mouse.
And they all walked away together, friends once again. Each one was glad to be and sound like themselves again. The end. Oh, that was a noisy cricket. I bet you make funny noises sometimes, too. Isn't it nice that we're all different? That's what makes us so special. Are you ready for a story from far, far away? Well, this story comes all the way from the country of Japan, and it's called Roly-Poly Rice Ball. A rice ball is a yummy treat that the Japanese people make with sweetened rice. They squeeze it and pat it and roll it into a little ball. Delicious. Now, I'll tell the story, and you can use your imagination. Ready? Okay then, here we go. Once upon a time, a long, long time ago in Japan, a farmer and his wife lived with their 2 sons. One little boy acted very good and kind.
My name is Yosaku.
But the other little boy acted naughty sometimes.
My name is Osamu.
One day, good little Yosaku decided to go for a walk, and his mother made 2 delicious rice balls for him to carry.
Thank you.
Yosaku walked a very long time until he reached a spot where a little bird sang, and the air smelled like cherry blossoms, and the snow-topped mountain pointed up at the morning sun.
Oh, it is so pretty here. This is where I will eat my rice balls.
But as Yosaku took the rice balls from his pocket, one fell on the ground, and then it rolled, and rolled,
and rolled until it fell into a little hole. And out of that hole came a little voice.
Rice ball, roly-poly rice ball. Rice ball, one roly-poly rice ball.
That was funny. Let me try again.
Yosaku dropped his other rice ball on the ground, and sure enough, it rolled straight to the little hole in the ground and dropped in.
Rice ball, roly-poly rice ball. Rice ball, two roly-poly rice ball.
Yosaku laughed and clapped with delight. And when he did, a tiny gray mouse popped up from the hole.
Oh.
But this was not a mouse like other mice. This mouse was dressed like a little man, wearing a fine silk robe and with tiny wooden sandals upon his feet. The mouse bowed politely to Yosaku, and Yosaku also bowed, because this shows good manners in Japan.
The rice balls were most delicious,
said the mouse.
I thank you.
You are very welcome,
said Yosaku. Then the mouse, whose name was Papa, clapped his hands 1, 2, 3 times. And suddenly, many mice came climbing out of the hole, all dressed in the most beautiful little clothes. There was a mama mouse and lots of young boy and girl mice.
You have a very fine family.
Thank you.
And then they all had a wonderful party. The mice danced for Yosaku and told stories and sang songs. Many hours later, it was time for Yosaku to leave. So Papa Mouse clapped his hands and said,
Children, bring a gift for our new friend.
And the mice ran into the bushes, then brought back 2 boxes, a great big fancy box and a small plain box.
You may choose 1 box.
I do not need much, so I will take the small box. Thank you.
When Yosaku arrived at home, he told his parents and his brother the whole story. And when he opened the small box, everyone got a big surprise.
It is full of treasure. Look, there are diamonds and other jewels of many colors, and I will share with all of you.
Everyone was very happy, except for Osamu.
You should have taken the big box and gotten even more treasure.
And the next day, Osamu took 2 rice balls from his father's lunch bag, then hurried out into the woods until he found the spot where a little bird sang, and the air smelled like cherry blossoms, and the snow-topped mountain pointed up at the morning sun.
Yes, this is the place my brother spoke of.
But Osamu did not want to share his rice balls with the mouse.
I will eat these good rice balls myself.
And soon he had eaten everything except for a few grains of rice.
Now I will make new rice balls.
And Osamu scooped mud and grass into 2 little balls, then patted in the few small grains of rice. Uh-oh. Do you think he's doing something naughty? When those dirty rice balls were done, Osamu dropped one on the ground. And it rolled and rolled and rolled until it found the little hole and dropped right in.
Rice ball, muddy, messy rice ball. Rice ball, one muddy, messy rice ball.
Quickly, Osamu rolled the other dirty rice ball into the hole.
Rice ball, muddy, messy rice ball. Rice ball, 2 muddy, messy rice balls.
Then Papa Mouse came climbing up out of the hole. The mouse bowed to Osamu, but Osamu did not bow, and that was very rude. Still, Papa Mouse tried to be friendly.
Thank you for the rice balls,
he said to Osamu.
But I am afraid they are not good enough to eat.
They are good enough for a mouse like you. Now, where is my gift?
Papa Mouse did not look happy, but he clapped his hands once, twice, 3 times. And the mouse family, wearing their beautiful tiny clothes, came hurrying out of the hole.
Children, bring a gift for our new friend.
And the young mice ran into the bushes and brought back 2 boxes. A big fancy box and a small plain box.
Give me the big box. Ha ha ha.
And Osamu grabbed the big box and ran away without even saying thank you. When Osamu got home, he called his parents and his brother to come and look.
You see, Yosaku, my box will even have more treasure inside, and I will not share with anyone.
Then Osamu opened the box, and inside there were all the colors of beautiful jewels. But when Osamu reached for his treasure, he found out that the colors were on butterflies' wings.
Butterflies? A box of butterflies?
And suddenly, every butterfly started to fly, and every one of them flew away on the summer breeze, leaving only an empty box for Osamu.
I wanted too much, and now I have nothing,
said Osamu. But his brother Yosaku smiled and said,
I will still share my treasure with you if you promise that you will be good and kind from now on.
And from that day on, they all lived happily ever after. The end. Oh, that was a delicious story. Can you imagine all of those little mice singing and dancing right in your room? Oh, my. Time for fun, time for smiles, a special time for you.
Story time with Barney
Is fun for me.